When you defend yourself, you think you're protecting your reputation, but in reality, you're giving away your power. Every explanation you offer hands the microphone to your critic and puts you on trial in a courtroom that never existed. The strongest move you can make is to stop talking and start living in a way that needs no defense, because silence backed by results is louder than any argument you could ever give. Sometimes, the loudest noise in the room comes from the smallest mind trying to provoke you. When someone questions you, criticizes you, or tries to pull you down, your first instinct might be to jump in, explain yourself, and prove them wrong. It feels natural, almost necessary, to defend who you are, to prove your worth, to make them see the truth. But the truth is, the moment you start defending yourself, you hand over your power. You turn the spotlight from your strength to their judgment. You give them the authority to decide whether your explanation is enough, whether your worth is validated, and that is where you start losing. And defending yourself often comes from fear. Fear of being misunderstood, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough in the eyes of others. But here's the thing, people who truly know your value don't need an explanation, and people who are determined to misunderstand you will never believe one. The more you try to justify your choices, your dreams, your actions, the more you get tangled in their narrative instead of living your own. You stop being the author of your story and start becoming a character in theirs. And strength is not in shouting your truth. Strength is in living it. When you refuse to defend yourself, you send a message, not of arrogance, but of certainty. You know who you are, you know what you stand for, you know where you are going, and you don't need their approval to walk that path. This quiet confidence disarms people more than any argument could. It unsettles them because they cannot control you, cannot provoke you, cannot make you dance to the tune of their insecurities. And the problem with defending yourself is that it creates a cycle. You explain once and they push again. You explain again and they push harder. Soon, you are no longer living for your truth. You are living to defend it. And the more you defend, the more you start doubting yourself. You start wondering, am I wrong? Am I the problem? Not because you actually are, but because you've given so much space to their voice that it drowns out your own. And there is a quiet kind of power in silence. Silence is not weakness. It is not surrender. It is strategy. It says, I don't need to participate in this battle because my life, my work, and my presence already speak for me. You don't need to correct every lie. You don't need to fight every opinion. You don't need to answer every question. Some things are better left unanswered, because the moment you try to answer them, you legitimize them. And not every opinion deserves legitimacy. And when you learn to be still in the face of judgment, you discover something incredible. Their words lose their grip on you. They start to sound smaller, weaker, irrelevant, because when you stop reacting, you stop feeding the fire. And eventually, without your energy to sustain it, the fire burns out. People lose interest when they realize they cannot pull you into their drama. And we live in a world where everyone is eager to have the last word, to clap back, to set the record straight. But the last word is overrated. The last word is for people who think the conversation matters. Real power is in not needing the last word at all. You are too busy building, creating, evolving. You have better places to be than in the middle of a petty debate about your worth. And defending yourself often makes you weaker because it places you in a position of needing to be believed. And the moment you need someone to believe you, you make them the judge of your truth. But here's the reality. Your truth doesn't need a judge. It doesn't need a jury. It doesn't need a trial. It just needs you to stand in it unapologetically. And think about the people you admire, the ones who carry themselves with grace and power. Do they stop to answer every critic? Do they get pulled into every argument? No, they stay focused on their path. They know that time spent defending is time stolen from doing. And the people who do the most in life don't have the time or energy to defend their every move. They just keep moving. And every time you feel the urge to explain yourself, pause and ask, who am I doing this for? If the answer is to gain approval, to change someone's mind, to prove your worth, stop. That's a losing game. Approval is a moving target. Change one person's mind, and another will show up with the same doubts. Prove yourself to one critic, and 10 more will appear. But when you stop defending, you step out of that endless loop. You rise above it, and your energy is precious. Every word you speak, every thought you entertain, every conversation you enter into, it all costs you something. Why spend that energy on people who have already made up their minds about you? Why drain yourself for someone else's comfort when you could be using that same energy to fuel your vision, your goals, your growth? And not defending yourself is not about being passive. It's about being selective. It's about choosing where to place your voice, your time, and your heart. It's about realizing that not every battle deserves your presence. Some battles are meant to be won simply by walking away from them. And the most powerful people are not the ones who shout the loudest. They are the ones who are unshakable when the noise rises. They don't bend to every opinion. They don't crumble under every attack. They stand still, and in that stillness, they become immovable. They know that the truth will outlast the lies, and they trust that time will reveal what words cannot. And when you stop defending yourself, you stop giving others the keys to your self-worth. You stop seeking permission to be who you are. You stop playing small to fit into their understanding of you. You start living fully, fiercely, fearlessly. You start standing taller, not because everyone agrees with you, but because you no longer need them to. And you don't owe anyone an explanation for the life you choose to live. You don't owe them a breakdown of your decisions, your mistakes, your dreams. The only person you owe is yourself. To live a life so true to who you are that defending it becomes unnecessary. Let your work speak. Let your results speak. Let your peace speak. Because in the end, silence backed by results is louder than any defense could ever be. And here's the beautiful part. When you stop defending yourself, you create space for people to see you for who you are, not for how well you can argue your case. You're no longer trying to persuade anyone to believe in you, which means the ones who stay, the ones who support you, are there because they truly see you. They value you without needing the constant reassurance of explanations. That kind of authenticity in relationships, whether personal or professional, is rare, and it only happens when you're willing to let go of the need to be understood by everyone. And defending yourself often feels like protection, but in reality, it's an invitation for more questioning. It's like putting a "please examine" sign on your life. The moment you explain, you open the door for them to find new holes in your story, to twist your words, to bring up more doubts. But when you meet criticism with composure, when you choose silence or self-defense, you shut that door. People have nothing to latch onto. They can speculate, but they can't engage you in their game. And think of the times you've been tempted to speak up just to clear the air. You lay out every reason, every detail, every proof, and yet somehow the person you're speaking to still walks away unconvinced. That's because they weren't looking for truth in the first place. They were looking for control. And control is only possible when you allow yourself to be pulled into the role of the defendant. Step out of that role and the entire dynamic changes. And there's a quiet rebellion in not defending yourself. It's you saying, "You don't get to set the terms of my worth." It's you reclaiming your energy and refusing to spend it on battles that bring no growth. This is not about avoiding accountability. It's about knowing the difference between being accountable to yourself and being answerable to people who thrive on keeping you on trial. And life will always present you with moments where people misunderstand you, judge you, even misrepresent you. If you try to chase down every misconception, you'll spend your life running, never resting, never truly moving forward. But if you let go of the need to correct every story, you'll find freedom. Freedom to focus on your path, your dreams, your vision. Freedom to live without constantly glancing over your shoulder, wondering what someone might be saying. And here's the irony. When you stop defending yourself, people often end up respecting you more. There's something magnetic about someone who doesn't flinch in the face of criticism. Someone who stands tall, unshaken, not because they have nothing to say, but because they choose not to say it. That kind of discipline is rare, and it draws attention. It makes people wonder, what do they know that I don't? It shifts the power dynamic completely. And think about your own life. How much time have you wasted rehearsing what you would say to someone who debunked you? How many hours have you spent crafting the perfect response to prove your point? Now imagine what could happen if you poured that same energy into your craft, your purpose, your growth. Imagine where you could be 6 months from now if you never wasted another minute justifying yourself to someone who isn't even rooting for you. And the truth is, silence in the right moments is a sign of deep self-trust. It means you are not afraid of what will happen if you don't rush in to fix the narrative. It means you believe that time, consistency, and results will tell your story better than any defense you could offer, and they will. Over time, the noise fades. The people talking about you move on to something else. But your actions, your wins, your impact, they remain. And when you stop defending yourself, you also give yourself the gift of peace. Peace from the endless cycle of back and forths. Peace from overthinking every word you've said. Peace from the anxiety of wondering if people get you. You start to realize that not everyone is meant to understand you, and that's okay. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to be true to yourself. And we live in a time where visibility is constant. Everyone has an opinion, and they feel entitled to share it with you. Social media, workplaces, even your own family, people will project their fears, their insecurities, and their expectations onto you. And the easiest trap to fall into is thinking you have to respond to it all. But the most liberating choice you can make is to realize you don't. You don't owe your voice to every opinion. You don't owe your time to every debate. You don't owe your peace to every misunderstanding. And there will be moments when your silence will frustrate people. They will try harder to provoke you, to get a reaction, to pull you back into the arena. They'll misinterpret your silence as weakness, as guilt, as indifference. Let them. Your silence is not for them, it's for you. It's your shield, your boundary, your reminder that your energy belongs to things that build you, not to things that drain you. And when you choose not to defend yourself, you're not just protecting your energy, you're also building resilience. Every time you resist the urge to explain, you strengthen the muscle of self-control. You train yourself to be grounded, to be unmoved by temporary storms. You become someone who cannot be shaken by gossip, lies, or petty attacks. And that kind of steadiness is rare in a world where people are quick to react. And this choice will not always feel comfortable. At first, it will feel unnatural, maybe even wrong, to let certain things go unanswered. You'll fight the urge to speak up, to clear the air. But with time, you'll see the power in restraint. You'll notice how much lighter you feel when you're not constantly carrying the weight of proving yourself. You'll notice how much further you move when you stop getting stuck in the mud of other people's opinions. And perhaps the most important part, when you stop defending yourself, you teach others how to treat you. You show them that your attention, your time, your energy are not freely available to anyone who wants to challenge you. You demonstrate that you are focused, disciplined, and intentional about where you invest yourself. People notice that, and slowly, the ones who used to test you stop trying because they realize it's a waste of their time. And you can't control what people think of you, but you can control how much space their thoughts occupy in your life. You can't stop people from talking, but you can stop giving them your ear. You can't erase every little story, but you can make it irrelevant by living a story so powerful that no rumor can touch it. And this is how you grow beyond the need for defense. You stop playing to their script and start writing your own. You understand that your life is not a courtroom and you are not on trial. You are not here to prove anything to anyone except yourself. The only verdict that matters is the one you give yourself when you look in the mirror and know you stayed true to who you are. And every time you choose silence over defense, you are choosing yourself. You are choosing your growth, your focus, your peace. You are choosing to put your energy into building something real rather than fighting battles that only exist in someone else's mind. And when you make that choice again and again, your life begins to change. You find clarity, you find strength, you find freedom in ways you never imagined. And because real power isn't in convincing others to believe in you, real power is in believing in yourself so completely that you don't need to. And once you step into that version of yourself, the one who moves forward without the weight of constant defense, you start to notice how different life feels. The air feels lighter, your steps feel more certain. Every decision no longer feels like it needs to be put on trial before the jury of public opinion. You begin to breathe in freedom and exhale the need for approval. That shift doesn't just change the way you live, it changes the way you see yourself. And when you stop defending yourself, you realize how much mental space you've been giving to people who haven't earned it. All those imaginary debates in your head, all those late-night rehearsals of what you would say if someone confronted you again, gone. In their place, there's clarity, there's energy to think bigger, to dream beyond the limits others tried to set for you. You saw. Tart to see that you were never stuck because of their opinions. You were stuck because you kept trying to rewrite their version of your story instead of writing your own. And this kind of growth doesn't happen overnight. It's a gradual unlearning. At first, the silence feels heavy. You may feel misunderstood. You may even feel invisible for a while. But that's because you've been so used to defending yourself that the absence of defense feels like the absence of presence. The truth is, you're more present than ever, just no longer in the wrong rooms, fighting the wrong fights. Your presence shifts from their arena to your own. And when you stand in your own arena, you play a completely different game. You're not seeking to be right, you're seeking to be true. You're not looking for applause, you're looking for alignment. You're not focused on proving people wrong. You're focused on proving yourself right by living the life you envisioned long before they doubted you. And in that space, something powerful happens. You no longer need to react to every attack because you've built a life so rooted in your truth that no attack can uproot it. Your focus is no longer scattered across the battlefield of opinions. It's anchored in the foundation you've been quietly building. And because of that, your power grows. Not the loud, desperate power of someone trying to convince the world, but the steady, unshakable power of someone who knows the world will eventually see for themselves. And it's in these moments that you realize the real victory isn't in changing their minds. It's in realizing you don't have to. You can walk away from the noise, from the accusations, from the misunderstandings, and still win. Because you're not measuring victory by how many people you've convinced, but by how many steps forward you've taken toward the life you want. And every time you choose not to defend yourself, you train yourself to detach from other people's need for control, defending you. Or self often gives them power because it shows you care about their opinion enough to shape your time and energy around it. But the moment you step out of that cycle, you remove their grip on your life. You become untouchable in a way that's not about arrogance, but about self-respect. And this is where your resilience really starts to shine. You begin to see that resilience isn't just about getting back up when life knocks you down. It's also about standing still when people try to shake you. It's about holding your ground when they push for explanations. It's about being so anchored in your own truth that you don't get swept away by the current of their expectations. And that doesn't mean you won't still hear their voices. The world will always have something to say. There will always be whispers, gossip, opinions, some louder than others. But you'll learn to hear them differently. They'll stop sounding like commands you need to respond to and start sounding like background noise. Noise doesn't control you unless you choose to turn up the volume, and you've decided to keep it turned down, maybe even muted. And as you grow in this mindset, you'll also notice your confidence shifting. It's no longer built on being liked or understood. It's built on being consistent, on keeping promises to yourself, on showing up for your life without needing an